even though I'd had lessons for a year before I went and started training, when people asked me how I was going to support myself in London, a very expensive city, I said, well, I start the training course in September, and I figure by November I'll have a few students and I'll be making my money like that, So it sort of shows you how clueless I was.
Was Patrick okay with you taking on students after a couple of months in the training program?
Well, no. After a couple of months, I sat in the chair for the first term. I didn't put a hand on anybody. It was a very rude awakening. No, we didn't. I didn't take on any students until my last term. I had a few practice students, but no, I was just completely out to lunch. I had no clue that what the training process was and what was involved, and so
how did you support yourself through the training program?
Wow, I mean, boy, oh boy, we all, unless there were a few people in the class on trust funds,
Yeah.
And the rest of us had to work. So I did. I worked in a pub. I worked in a wine bar. I worked as a youth worker. I eventually worked my way up the food chain a little bit to become the head of a youth club, which in 1983 paid £5,200, and I thought I died and gone to heaven. That was only about, $11,000 in 1984, which was not a lot of money even then, But it was enough for me to pay my fees, rent, travel. I mean, as I said, that was enough to get by. And so I had a full-time job by my second year in the training. I moved up, and I was the head of a youth club, ran a youth club, and that's how I survived.
How much were your fees?
You're gonna laugh. I think it went up to £380 a term. So less than £1,000 a year.
So 3 terms a year.
Yeah, so it was less than £1,000 a year. So it's like $2,000 a year. I don't even know if it was that much. It might have even been less than that. I'm trying to think. But no, I think that was about right. It was around. Yeah, it was less than £1,000 a year.
Would you recommend teaching Alexander technique as a road to riches?
Absolutely. I've just traded in my 2010 Mercedes, and I think I'm going to go with the Lexus this year.
What percentage of the time when you're jogging do you enjoy it?
Say that again?
What percentage of the time when you're running do you enjoy it?
Oh, well, I'm always glad to be running. Is every run, as pleasant as every other run? Absolutely not. Some days, it's a little more work than others, and especially because I don't run for fitness. I run for performance. So I train, and I mean, at my age, I don't need to run 90 kilometers a week to be fit, right? I don't need to do, a 24-kilometer run on 7:30 on a Saturday morning when it's minus 20 degrees Celsius. I don't need to do that. But to perform, you need to do that. Okay, so my motivation and my why I'm there to run is beyond just sort of staying fit and or practicing the Alexander technique. It has to do quite a lot with wanting to improve my performance, and so I follow a training program to aimed at achieving a particular goal, and I still enjoy that. That's what gets me out running over the winter, and that's what kind of I I still have a certain passion for that. But having said that, when you have to get up early and run when it's cold, or run when you're a little bit tired, or do a training workout, especially if you've been training hard for a couple of months and there's a certain level of fatigue which is sort of set in from the mileage and everything. It's a normal part of the training process, but you're tired. It's not the same as going out for a run on the beach when the sun is nice and the waves are coming in and there's dogs frolicking. It's not quite the same, It's a little more serious than that, and it doesn't mean that once the race is over and you get some time off that you can't just go out and have fun. But running for me is more of a a serious passion as opposed to just salsa. For me, salsa, I go out and have fun, but there are people who are not professional salsa dancers who go in competitions and who practice an hour and a half a day and and take it really seriously. And I take my running like that.
Why do you still want to compete?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it goes back to when I was just a kid. I was never a fast runner as a kid, and I think I'm still trying to make up for that. I remember one time my father chasing me around the house when I was, 3 or 4, and he caught me, and I was so pissed off that I couldn't outrun him, And maybe that's what it is, Still working on that, on my speed.
Where were you in the social pecking order in high school?
I kind of, high school was, I kind of got in with the jock kind of popular crowd, so we sort of drank a little bit too much and my grades really sucked, and I kind of was probably in the upper levels of the social pecking order. I mean, in other words, I wasted my high school years being social as opposed to working on, my grades and that.
Did you go to college?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And where did you go to college?
At McGill and then to the University of Montreal. So I've got a bachelor's and most of a master's in criminology.
Huh. Why criminology?
I wanted to work with people, and my grades weren't good enough to get into a master's program in psychology. So I went into criminology as a way of being able to work in therapeutically with people, and it was an easier degree to get into, kind of like a backdoor entry into getting some sort of therapeutic training. So that's what I was doing when I discovered the Alexander technique, and I kind of developed a parallel career with the Alexander, and I kept the other thing going for quite a few years after that. I mean, that's why I got the degree and the job in the UK with youth work, because I had some experience working with teenagers, and when I wasn't making a lot of money when I first came back here, I actually went back into working with kids in care here for the better part of 8 years. So I did that full-time, and I taught Alexander part-time.
Do you think people would be less likely to be criminally aggressive if they had a harmonious head-neck-back relationship?
I don't know. I tell you the truth, I have no idea. I think you can be a well-coordinated mean mother or a poorly coordinated mean mother. It's more about there are a lot of factors that go into it. Luck being one of them. But I mean, your family situation, your social situation, how important money is to you, what kind of opportunities you have. Lots of things come into it. Do you have drug problems? you got a drug problem, you can